everyone, welcome to The Handmade Girl. Thanks for coming by the blog. I'm Ingrid, and this is my amazing friend Naomi, and we just thought it would be super fun to do a little video blog. Video blogs are always fun, and it's more interactive, and you can see things.
Yeah.
So, not sure how many of these we'll do, if we'll get on to kind of a routine and a schedule, or if this will just be a once every blue moon kind of thing. So, thanks for checking us out. So I thought since this is our first time doing this together that we would just share a little bit about ourselves and kind of our handmade lifestyle kind of background where we're coming from. So you want to share a little about you?
So my name is Naomi. I have grown up in the upper Midwest my whole life. We lived in the cities for the first half of my life and then moved to the country. So we're kind of country raised is what I usually consider myself. I have been married for about 10 years. I have 4 kids, a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So
Woo!
they're all really close together.
Yes.
So they keep us very busy. We chose to homeschool them, and hopefully we'll be talking about that a little bit more at some point. And so we are just a young family, living in the country. I love to make things. It's kind of my sanity break from the craziness of having all the kids and homeschooling and being busy all the time. Then when I get me time, it is creating and making things.
So what do you find, like what, if you could create anything or be making anything, what would that be? Like if you just had your own time?
I've been asked that before, and I really like to change it up. I like the variety. I like sewing. I like making new recipes. I like making all-natural body products, which we'll also talk about later. I like digging in the garden. I generally don't stick with one thing for a real long time. I'll try this, and then I'll dabble in that, and I like the variety. So I always have a million projects going on at the same time, but...
Do you find with like your typical day and your family that there's one area that you're making things and you're being creative? Maybe it's not your favorite, but that's where you're finding yourself the most throughout your day?
I think I tend towards art projects.
Okay. Like with the kids or
with
just
the kids?
Okay.
Yeah. Like if I'm going to try to plug my creativity into the day, I will find a really fun art project that all of the kids can do together with me. Something simple and fast that I'm not uptight about them, like messing up for me. So, anyways, also one of my daughters, Jaslyn, loves helping me in the kitchen. She just loves it. So anytime I can come up with a new, easy recipe that she can help me stir up and, throw cookies on a sheet or whatever, she loves to be my helper in the kitchen. So that's really fun.
Yep. Sometimes I love that, and sometimes I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Mommy time. But yes. Anything else? We'll probably find out little bits as we chat about other things.
Yeah.
So. I'm Ingrid. You may know more about me, but maybe you don't. So my husband and I live in Midwest Wisconsin, and we have 2 kids. 3? Oh, wow. We have 3 kids. I tell you what, the third one is just like a blur. I'm like, I don't remember anything. She's almost a year old. But we have 3 kids, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and then a almost 1-year-old girl. So 2 boys and then a girl. We live on 10 acres, and we've been here for 2 years. And this is my dream. We have chickens and ducks, and we just got 2 pigs like a month ago, and I'm just
slowly becoming farmers.
I love it. So I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have little odd jobs here and there, and I do the Handmade Girl. But this is it. We have a huge garden, and we sell produce from a roadside kind of stand shop, and that's called Barlow Roots. So that keeps us busy, and my days, they fly by, and I love that about it, and I can't stand that about it. It's kind of that, trying to find that balance. But
yeah. With Barlow Roots, how often do you find yourself having to be in the garden?
Well, my husband would say that I should be in the garden daily. That doesn't always happen. Last year, with the kids being so little, it's more challenging to try to get stuff done in the garden. And this year might be a little interesting with our 1-year-old, just because she's at that put everything in your mouth.
Yeah.
So I have a pack and play over there, and I can plunk her in there. I have the carrier, which works, although whenever I bend over, she's like, so I don't,
Yeah.
I tend not, and I get super hot.
Yeah.
So I think the pack and play will be the method, and hopefully the boys, there's a trampoline over there now and a sandbox, and I think that they're a little better at entertaining themselves.
Yeah, and they're a little older now, so they could help you with some of the smaller chores in the garden.
Definitely. I try to have like a little kids area, like where they can just plunk seeds in the ground.
Oh, good.
And I don't care what they do. So they may plant that seed like 3 inches too deep, and it'll never come up. But it's just seeds that I don't care, and
that's so wonderful for them to have their own little spot that they can grow things. I remember as a child, my mom giving us a row that we got to plant anything we wanted, and I remember vividly planting carrots one year. I remember planting spaghetti squash.
Yep.
And I remember eating it, and like, I don't think I even liked squash as a child, but I loved that squash because I had planted it and watched it grow, and it was my squash.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. There is so much, like with the homeschooling stuff too, there's so much, you just find yourself teaching, as you're just living, and
which is one thing I really love about it, just plugging in those little lessons throughout the day.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yep. So the garden is a huge learning and growing. We were out there, we started a worm bin a week ago. And so so the boys and I were out there with shovels and digging up worms and talking about what the worm does, and so it's just always back to the how often are we there. Tony he heard somewhere, and he encourages kind of it's better to be in the garden like 5 minutes every day, or just versus going and just spending hours on the weekend. Yeah, it's just better to be in there daily, just getting little bits done at a time.
Yep.
So gardening season is upon us. I am taking care of seedlings right now, and every night when I'm bringing the seedlings in from outside to inside for overnights, I just say, I wish I had a greenhouse. And greenhouse is in the works. Father-in-law and my husband are working on a greenhouse, but until then I shall carry trays in and out of the house every night.
Is there any timeline on when that is expected to be done?
We were hoping June. But I think it'll probably get pushed back a little bit. And really, the greenhouse will be really utilized in the spring. So we're almost kind of past
when you can use
the prime usefulness of it this year.
Yeah.
But next spring it'll be huge.
Awesome.
So I'm excited. I've really kind of gotten the hang of starting seedlings. It's taken quite a few years of learning what to do and what not to do.
It's a learning curve. I've tried and crashed and burned several times.
And I would say the last 2 years I've been successful, but it was a lot of crash and burning. A lot of high hopes, and then it happened. So I think I have most of the garden is started as seedlings. We'll have hopefully around 100 tomato plants. And then, Brussels sprouts, I did seedlings for that. And then the rest of the garden will just be via seed. Direct sowing.
Okay.
So that'll happen soon. It's already May 7th.
Yeah. Yep. So. I was just going to ask, when do you need to start planting seeds?
Well, there are certain seeds you could start now, but then kind of end of May is typically when it's like the garden is fully in.
Yeah.
So you have garden spots at home.
Yes. We have 2 raised beds. They're much smaller scale than what Ingrid does, but we just planted about a week and a half ago, I'd say. We planted all of our lettuces, kale, spinach.
Perfect.
The the sugar snap peas.
Mm-hmm.
Our rhubarb has come up amazing. It is just growing like a weed, so we've been trying to, well, I'm eagerly anticipating when I can harvest more of it because it's not quite big enough to take a lot off yet, but yeah.
The boys brought me in, we've been like picking flowers and dandelions and stuff, and they brought me in a bouquet of rhubarb. And it was because I just planted some here at the house and the rest is over at the gardens. And it was like this little tiny rhubarb, and I was like, oh no! Don't pick that! You know, it's kind of one of those...
such a sweet thought.
I know, it was like sweet, it was sweet intention, and then it's like, don't ever do that again.
Yes. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
My girls picked all of these for us. They keep bringing me in anything that flowers. They will bring me huge bunches in. So we didn't even know what these were called, but Ingrid looked them up in their winter cress, I think.
Yeah.
It's just a weed that grows out in our field, but they're so pretty and bright.
Yeah, and these are it's just like a
crabapple tree. Yep. We have a drooping crab. So all of the branches grow downwards, and it's real pretty in the spring. The rest of the year it looks kind of funny, but it's gorgeous right now with all of the blossoms on it. So
you just want to soak it up.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. So that's kind of the gardening segment. We kind of just launched into that.
Yep.
Just trying to think if I had anything else gardening related. I don't think so. I think we can move on. I thought we could show like any finished objects if you've been making things.
Sure. Yeah, Ingrid and I actually just went to a craft retreat last month and had the chance to gather with a bunch of other women away from families, and it was dedicated just to crafting, anything you wanted to bring. And so people brought scrapbooking and sewing and quilting, and it was so fun because you all sit in the same room at these tables and you just eat and laugh and sew and talk, and it's wonderful. So
somebody else cooks for you. So you
you just go when the dinner bell rings and go eat.
It was wonderful. It was really good.
While I was there, I worked on 2 dolls almost the entire time for my girls because they took a lot more effort than I imagined. But they're just a rag doll shape. And my one daughter is very, very into gymnastics, and her hero is Gabby Douglas. So I had to make a Gabby Douglas doll for her. So she has her Olympic gold medal here and everything. The hair part was the coolest because I found a tutorial of just taking 100% acrylic yarn, wrapping it around wooden dowels, getting it wet, and then baking it.
That's wild.
And when it dries and you unwrap it, it like permanently curls the acrylic hair. So she has curly hair, which is awesome. Sophie thought that was really cool. And then my other daughter really loves Pocahontas. So we made a Pocahontas doll, and I had her hair in braids, but she said, "Mom, Pocahontas' hair is like flowing in the wind."
Oh,
so
true.
She quickly took those out, which is totally fine. But they have been carrying these everywhere with them. They're soft and snuggly, so they sleep with them at night. They bring them outside, and I don't care if they get dirty. And so
that does a mommy's heart good.
Yes. I was very happy with how much they loved them because they took a lot of effort, and I thought, they don't love these dolls. Oh, I was not going to be happy. So
awesome.
So that's what I worked on. Awesome. What did you work on at the retreat?
It was actually my first sewing retreat.
Craft
retreat. I had never gone on one, and I think it's just because of the age of my kids. It's been challenging, and
it's hard to get away.
Yeah, so this one I was like, oh. So I did. I didn't really know what I was going to work on. I ended up working on a couple quilts. So I pretty much got almost 2 quilt tops done.
Yeah.
So this was one of them, and I wasn't planning on doing this one, and then I just thought, oh, I'm here. I'll just use the fabric that I brought along. So this is an apple core quilt, and it's a template, and I bought the template up at an awesome shop up in Brainerd, Minnesota called Country Fabrics and Quilts, I believe.
Yeah.
That's right. And anyways, just a super easy, really fast quilt to cut out. And then the curves were a little bit more putsy. Not scary, you can totally do it, but it was a little bit, what I saved in time for cutting it out, I made up in the piecing side of things.
Yep.
But it really wasn't that bad.
It's so beautiful too. I love all of the different colors you chose and just the mixture of patterns and
Yeah. So it's kind of
beautiful.
eclectic, just
Yeah.
using what I had on hand, and now I have to, my hardest part with quilts is I like a scrappy back, but so often I only buy like a half a yard of fabric when I see something that I like.
Yeah.
And so then I don't want to use up that whole half of a yard on my backing, because then I don't have any else of it left.
Yep.
So I need to go to a shop and get some larger chunks of backing.
Yeah.
And I can still piece it, but I don't have a lot of huge chunks of fabric in my stash.
Yeah, that's my problem too. I never buy big quantities unless I have a specific goal for it when I'm buying it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I also have a trouble buying solids. I
Oh.
always go for the patterns and the
Yes,
bright colors and
yes.
those cutesy things, but
Yep.
I've learned from Ingrid you need your solids
Yeah,
to
solids
make the
are
other
huge.
stuff pop.
Mhm.
So
And the nice thing about solids is that they're typically cheaper.
right.
More like $6.99 a yard, and they're good for your stash. They really help.
Yep.
Helps break up patterns, and solids you have to have solids.
Yep.
It's true.
Yes.
Anything else?
I don't have any other finished products. I have in the works.
Okay. Let me do one more finished. So I just launched at the Handmade Girl a new course style kind of subscription, and it's called Becoming Handmade, and you can look on the products. Super excited about it. It's for 6 months, just sending you videos, tutorials, patterns. We're interviewing other creative people. Super fun. Oh,
Yes.
nice shirt.
Yes,
There
a
she
little
goes.
subtle marketing here.
Naomi's like screen printing queen. So anyways, the first day was May Day that I launched. So I thought, well, we should totally do something May Day related. So I've been making rope baskets, and they're just
adorable.
they're like creative. You can make up the different shapes that you do. And this basket, I had the kids paint on it, and it was one of those projects where I threw down some boxes and I gave them paint, and I'm like, all right guys, just start slapping paint on rope.
And did you just use like acrylic craft paint?
Yes, it's just acrylic craft paint.
Awesome.
And I was a little, you can only use one paint color at a time.
Okay.
So I did have to lay the law on that. But my next one, so I'm planning on doing these. So this is my finished one, and I love the handles. They're just, once I was done with the basket, I just seam ripped one little spot open and tucked that handle down into it. So it's kind of a rough non-finished look, which I like.
Is this just 3 pieces of the
Yep,
rope?
the handle's just 3 pieces of the rope
I
done.
love it.
Zigzag. So I would like to do some of those for Mother's Day. So it's a finished project, and then it's, I took this rope, this is clothesline rope that you can buy at a hardware store, and the purple, you can see that, but the purple, I took old blueberries from the freezer that were totally freezer burned, and I just dyed them in the matched
What a
up
pretty
blueberries.
color that turned out.
Yeah, so it's a really soft, like lavender. So I think the bottom of the basket, let's see if that's, to see how well these things show up, I don't know. But the bottom of the basket will be purple,
Okay.
and then it'll move up into the naturally.
And how long did you have to soak the rope to get it to be this nice
I probably
lavender
started
color?
it mid-afternoon, and then till after supper.
Okay, so several hours.
And I figured that once I rinsed it in cold water, it would lighten.
Yeah.
And it did lighten. And then I would say when I set it outside and dried it, it lightened. It continued to lighten.
So it was quite a bit darker than that when you
Yes.
started.
Yep. So
Okay.
when you're dyeing it, you'll want to keep that in mind.
Okay.
You want it pretty dark.
Yep. Okay.
But this is a natural dye, so I think it's just in general lighter. You know, if you use like a RIT dye, that would probably go much
Open up a
faster.
whole new world
Yeah.
of possibilities
Oh, yeah.
as well.
Yep. So that's the hope, is to get those done for Mother's Day
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a fun, the first video. That was a fun. We did
Yep.
May Day deliveries, and part of my thing this year is instead of waiting for a certain day, like if it's not May Day, thinking, oh, I can't go deliver something to somebody because it's
Right.
not May Day, it's just like, who cares?
Yeah,
You know, just do
cheer
it.
up any day.
Yeah. And so that's, and like I was thinking with, oh, I would like to eliminate refined sugar a little bit more from our diet instead of waiting for like the first of the month or the first of the year, like New Year's resolutions, just each day
Start
is new.
today. Yes, I know. We
And-
get into this mentality that we have to be on a schedule.
Yeah.
Like you always start your new habit on a Monday.
Yep.
Why?
Why is that?
Yeah.
That's how I think, but
Good.
so we're starting to just
I like
just do
that
it.
goal for the
Mhm.
year to just seize the day and,
yeah, exactly.
and go for it.
Works in progress?
Works in progress. I have with me this ripple blanket that I am calling my 5-year blanket because I would like to be generous with myself on how long I'm going to take to get it done because as you can see, I made it very wide because I love blankets that I can just wrap up in and snuggle on the couch, and that was the goal for this, is something that I can just wrap up in. So
Are you a crocheter?
I am a crocheter. I am not as much of a knitter.
Okay.
I love crocheting. I just get it. I love the shapes you can make with it and the versatility.
Yep.
And so I started this one by just picking 3 colors out of my living room with decorations that I already have in there. And like, I love the vivid, deep, rich colors in the jewel tones. So they're not 3 colors I might generally put together, but when I have them in the ripple blanket, I really love how it's turning out. So we've been talking about as I go that I might add just like a couple of wider bands to the pattern just to break it up a little bit because it's going to be such a big, huge blanket.
I think you
So
should. I think that would be.
I do too. I really think it'll add a lot. So I might, start here on this orange one. I'll just keep going for several rows. So there's this big orange band and then maybe a little one row skinny blue
I
or
like that.
whatever.
I like that
So
a lot.
yeah, so this is my current project.
This is
that
like
I-
perfect TV movie.
Yes. I sit and watch my Downton Abbey or whatever show I'm on at the time, and you can just work away at it while you're watching TV, and it's pretty mindless and make a little progress here and there.
So I consider myself first probably a knitter. I picked that up first, but crochet it took me a few times to get it, but I get it now.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it, and I love that it's opening up new worlds to me of patterns and things that you can do.
Yeah.
One thing I love about crochet with little kids around is crocheting. If somebody yanks out, just pulls on that yarn and a ton of your work unravels,
Yes.
it's not the end of the world.
That is huge because once I drop my knitting needles out of my, I can't. It's
And
done. It's ruined.
I've been knitting for years, and it's like, if something happens to the knitting, I'm like, oh! I have the worst time like figuring out how to get back on track.
Yes.
But with crochet, it's like, oh.
Yep, it's a lot more forgiving.
Yes.
You can pick up right where you left off, and even I can figure that out, which is awesome. And I just wanted to highlight these as well. This is a pattern for a cup cozy that Ingrid came up with that just fits over any standard mason jar. She has the quart size and the pint size.
Yes. So these are, this is crochet, and this is the jar cozy, and it's on the Handmade Girl. You can just
The website.
search in the search box jar cozy, and so this is a free pattern. So Naomi, so I had only done this size, and then I was talking to Naomi, and she's like, oh, well, I made the quart size.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And so then like 2 weeks ago, I made this one, and I'm going to put a little tag, like one of these. I think it'll be like a rectangle like this, except going up and down. And
I love that.
yeah.
There's so many different ways you could do that. And I love this. She has right in the pattern of how to print right onto your fabric. So I made some for other people, and I put their names on it. It makes an awesome
It's
little
a really
gift.
fun.
And the other thing that I really love about this is that with my littles, they generally, don't use glass cups, but I can throw this on here and I love these from Ball, the travel lids, and I can give them the mason jar, and it acts as a little bit of a cushion as well. So if they accidentally drop it, which they do, then it doesn't break the jar. And then also, they have, you know, the plastic travel cups, so you like can throw soup in here, hot soup, or even juice or whatever, and travel in the car with it like this, and then throw your other lid on when you're ready to drink it, and it keeps it warm, it keeps it insulated, and
it's a fun, versatile.
Yes.
It's a fun one. I will say that originally I made them for hot drinks, for teas and whatever, and it's nice because you can shake them up if you don't have a spoon.
Yep.
And then you just pop the lid off. But now I'm a big kombucha fan. Naomi got me started on kombucha.
Yep, we love our kombucha.
And sometimes there's some nastiness floating in your kombucha. And so like the jar cozies are perfect because then you don't see it. So you just drink up all those probiotics.
Yeah, sip away happily without seeing.
So now I'm like cold and hot.
Yes. Yes. So. I do love that for the summer too, is when I really used this one the most. This size was just not quite enough for how much I wanted to drink. So I made this one to put my ice cold kombucha in during the summer, bring it outside. And so I love that for the insulation as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Anything else? Works in progress?
Nope, that's all I've got.
Okay. Me, I don't really, I don't have a ton. Oh, well, I was going to say I need the backings for a couple quilts. But this was a finished one that I was going to show.
Lovely.
So this was a quilt that I made for my daughter Bergen. And it was inspired by Soul Mama, and she's soulmama.com. It's what is it called, low volume quilt, where you just use a lot of, again, a very scrappy quilt, very simply pieced, but you use a lot of whites. And I laughed because after I finished this, I was looking at it and I was like, it's not a true low volume, I don't think, because I did use a lot of color in it. It's more colorful than probably...
Is the volume speaking to the color coming out of the quilt?
Yes, okay. I believe so.
Okay.
We'll say that.
Because it doesn't look like a low volume amount of fabric.
No, but it's just scraps.
Okay.
So, and then I had a lot of fun because I don't have a long arm machine. The long arm is what you actually do the quilting, the stitching of the layers of a quilt together. And I don't have a long arm, but I have a wooden frame that I set my machine on, and then we just go. And I have the width of my neck, is the needle, when the needle comes down and then goes to your machine. I have that width in there. So I just had fun practicing. I had these long strips, and I used them as a guide then for doing different quilt patterns just in that long strip. So this is a pattern. This I did a different quilted pattern.
Yeah, you have so many fun different shapes.
Yeah, so I had never done, they call them feathers, and I had never really done feathers, and so I thought this is a great time. Scrappy quilt, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like it to look nice, but I'm not going to get too uptight about it. That's the other thing about quilting is when you're in the midst of quilting, you might go, oh, there's a spot, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's a really bad, I am not good. But then by the time you're done,
you can't even see it.
You don't see it. You washed it up and it crinkles up, and
you can see some of the pattern on the back.
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, that was the latest quilt that I finished, and so that was a fun one, and maybe someday it'll be on our bed, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice to have quilts for all of the kids.
Yes.
Works in progress. I think the only knitting that I have on my needles right now is a sock. And the socks are just kind of in the car, watching TV.
Sure. Yep, pick up here and there.
I'll see if I can show it to you guys. Yeah, there we go. This is a chevron pattern sock. So this is the cuff.
And is that a child or adult size sock?
This will be adult size.
Awesome.
So, and it's
ready in time for winter.
Yeah. Typically, I buy yarn at yarn shops, and this I just heard so many good things about. This is Patton's Croy, which is available at like Michael's and Joann's.
Oh, awesome.
So, we're giving it a go.
Yeah. And are you liking how it's turning out so far?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. I haven't worked on it a whole ton, and my knitting I kind of go in spurts.
Yep.
I do a ton of it, and then I'll slow down. And probably this summer with the garden,
Yeah.
I'll slow down.
Push back a little bit. That's how it is with crocheting too. I picked this up, and Ingrid had to remind me how to do one of the stitches last week because it was so long since I picked it up again that I couldn't even remember. So.
And I actually, when I showed her, it's like I couldn't think too hard about it. You just kind of have to, the muscle memory.
Yes.
And it took me a couple
Let your brain
times
go.
to figure it out, but.
Yep.
This is a project bag that I made for my knitting, and it's just got some cute little mice on it. But I love making bags.
Yes.
It's so fun.
Yes. Last year I called up Ingrid and said, I need a bag for my essential oils.
Yeah.
Can you whip something up for me? No problem. 4 hours later, she sent me pictures of 2 different prototypes. No joke. So,
Yeah.
bag queen over here, but it worked awesome. We made a bunch of them.
Yep. Was that Christmas gifts?
That was, I think Christmas gifts. Yep. So I filled some with oils, and there's even like little elastic pouches in there. Maybe I'll show on the next
Yeah, sometimes we
next
should talk about
podcast,
oils.
and and threw some oils in there and gave them as Christmas gifts, and they're just little perfect travel size bags to throw in your purse, and worked wonderful. So
Yeah, that was a fun one.
yeah.
Little bits of fabric. Nice to use up cute.
Yes, it doesn't take much, which is
Colored.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So-
Anything else this type of making related? Is
What
gonna
else?
move into
Oh, I was going to talk really quick about. Well, that's more one thing that I want to do in the
Okay.
future.
Let's talk about in the kitchen.
Okay, sounds good.
So, in the kitchen is just food related,
Yes.
recipe related. I'll start one. I discovered from America's Test Kitchen, and it must have been on TV at some point, but kale. We grow a ton of kale at Barlow Roots, and I really want to love it.
Yes.
And I found that we grew a blue dwarf kale. It was really good, and it was much more tender, and it was very good in salads, and so I tended to eat that a lot more.
Yep.
But then I watched this test kitchen, and the trick to kale and salads is you either have to blanch it, where you boil water and you throw it in, and it just tenderizes it a little bit.
Yep.
But I don't typically leave myself time in the kitchen to be blanching things.
Yeah.
It's like 5 o'clock, and I'm like, "Wah!" So this was just massaging your kale. So you break it up and you wash it, and then you just literally for like 2 minutes, you're just squeezing it super
kneading it.
hard and kneading it. Yes,
I have
kneading
never
it.
heard this before.
Yeah, and so it turns a darker green because you're basically bruising it. You
Bruising
think
it,
of
yeah.
salad, and you can't, to lettuce, you couldn't do that because it would just turn to mush. You're breaking the cells.
Right.
But this kale, you literally do that, and it is as tender as lettuce.
Wow.
And it's so good. And I'm still like somewhat in shock that
that it turned out so good.
Yeah.
I will have to try that next time.
Yes, and the kids, like, usually we always have our salads, like, you have to finish your salad before you eat the rest of your food for supper.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the salad will get forgotten.
Right. Just shoved aside.
And usually, like, the kale, I'm, like, forcing them, like, finish your kale!
Yeah.
And they're, like, their little faces are, like, oh! And this kale, they just pounded it. Yeah.
It's that, awesome.
So-
And it doesn't make it soggy at all.
No.
I just can't even imagine this. I'm going to have to just try it.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Awesome.
So, anyways, there's to get your kale down.
Yeah.
Really good idea.
All right.
So thank you, America's Test Kitchen.
Yes.
Mhm.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Should I do another one?
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. Where did I see this? I saw this somewhere too. Oh, I think this was on Jamie Oliver's food channel, FoodTube.
Okay.
So I typically buy a bag of green onions, the skinny green onions.
Yep.
They come like a lot in a bag, and they're
Mhm.
pretty cheap. So he says, and I did it, that you just, when you chop off, like, how they include the roots on the end of them?
Yep.
You chop that off, and you just plant them, throw them some dirt, and they'll grow you new green onions.
Really?
So,
Of
and
course,
half
why
the
not?
time my green onions, like half of them they
Yep.
start to go nasty.
Yep.
So, when that happens, then I just lop them off, or when I'm cooking, I just leave like that much, a couple inches,
And then just
and
throw
I
them in the
plant them,
pot?
and I've got 12 new green onions growing outside.
Awesome. What a great idea.
I know.
I did something similar to that last year. I bought from the grocery store one of the living basil. It just comes in the produce section with all the other like herbs.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll have like living herbs.
It's potted?
Meaning it comes in a plastic package, but they take the entire plant out of the ground and stick it in a plastic package. So it comes with a root ball right on it. And so I thought, there's no reason this wouldn't be able to grow still. Because there was still dirt attached to the root ball and everything. So I stuck it in a mason jar and put it on my windowsill, and it lasted for 6 months.
Really?
Just growing, yeah. I just
I wonder
watered it once in a while.
why they would do that.
I don't know. I think it's to give the freshest possible basil leaves, or is what I used. But they have various. I think they have rosemary and thyme and stuff like that
that's
too.
Fantastic. Because once you, from my experience in the garden, like once you really lop off, you can snip off bits of that basil and it'll keep growing.
Yeah.
But at some point, you've pretty much used it up.
Right.
So by just plucking the root.
Yep.
You know.
And it worked, and it was great because that I kept it living on my windowsill throughout the winter. So when we didn't have access to basil in the garden, I had access to basil all winter. So
I keep thinking, so it's kind of like in the summer with herbs. Mm-hmm. It's, what is that, feast or famine?
Yeah.
Like I'll have basil or cilantro coming out my ears. And then I'm like, man, I wish I had this in February when I'm desperate for a fresh piece of basil.
Fresh basil, yes.
So I was thinking, like, for Barlow Roots, I should really be seed starting in December and then selling, early little spring herb plants all year round. But so speaking of basil, will you tell about, I don't know much about it, but the basil drink that you...
Yes, I visited the St. Paul Farmers Market this past weekend, and while I was there, I got the chance to sample some homemade basil limeade, which was incredible. And you can literally see little specks of basil in this limeade. I wish I brought it along, but I forgot. So you have to shake it up before.
Okay.
And it's a concentrate. I think it's just literally lime juice and basil. I'm not sure what else is in there. I'm sure a sweetener, but so when when I tried it, it was just this like punch in my mouth. But the basil is real subtle, and mixed with the lime, it is just this perfect pairing that's so light and refreshing. So then when I got home, I added it to some club soda.
Okay.
And
is that how she
suggested to add it to club soda? The other suggestions she had for like a summer spritzer is to add a little bit of vodka if you want to, make a summer party drink or whatever. And
so how does she sell it?
It's sold in just a glass bottle, and she said you can stick it in your fridge and it'll last up to a month in this concentrate. And then you just pour a little bit into your cup to dilute with club soda anytime you want one. And I also, while I was there, got a lavender lemonade, which was fantastic. Just this hint. It was almost just like a scent of lavender, but it comes through enough that you're just getting this hint of the lavender, which is perfect. It didn't overwhelm the lemon at all.
Those sound so wonderful.
and they're just so refreshing and just fresh tasting.
So two kinds. It was basil limeade.
Limeade and lavender lemonade.
Okay. Did she have more, or were those?
Those were the only two that she had right now. Yeah. But they were so, she was still setting up when I walked by, and she didn't even have labels on her jars yet because people were, coming to get this stuff. And she's like, okay, let me throw a label on here quick, and she was fantastic. So that was really exciting.
Very
so I
cool.
love to try to figure out, using my basil this year, because we planted a bunch of basil plants, too, in, trying to come up with something like that.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
at some point we should talk about preserving herbs.
Yeah.
We won't this time, but how do you, with that feast or famine, how do you make those herbs last longer?
Yeah.
So
throughout the winter, a lot of stock.
I am on a kick. I watched a YouTube video on a girl that has literally this size of a jar, a quart-sized jar of garbage.
Yes,
from the
I
last
saw this video
2
too.
years. And it's so inspiring. And so I told Tony, I'm like, I just want to do this experiment where, like, for a month, I go without buying any packaged food because I feel like my food packaging is a lot of my garbage. Like, you think of your kitchen garbage, what am I throwing in there?
Yes.
And so...
Like everything. Even the organic and fresh stuff that we buy, a lot of times comes in packaging.
Yeah. So I've been trying to figure out, how do I do this? And do I even want to? And Tony, my husband, Tony, he is much more of the, well, let's just cut back on our garbage. And I'm like, no, that doesn't count. Like, we have to go, like, in or, like, we're all in or we're doing nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And so he's trying to balance me with, let's just ease back and let's just try
The
to...
practical.
Yeah.
You're the dreamer.
And I'm like, no. So, anyways, our cupboards are a little bare right now.
Yes.
And last night Tony was like, I want a snack, and there's not much. So we made popcorn. I made him some popcorn,
Yeah.
and that was good. I don't know if popcorn like every night for a month is going to be as good.
But he might not be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a completely different mindset.
Oh.
As I was watching this video, I was thinking, okay, what about ketchup?
Mm-hmm.
Or, any of those condiments,
Mm-hmm.
pickles? Like, you would have to make your own pickles. Like, she's talking about you just learn to make your own stuff, and she had given the example of mayonnaise, which would be easy enough. But then when you start getting into, I think you would just have to change the way you eat.
Yes.
Because you can't make everything that, you normally would.
It would be such a fascinating,
Yeah.
experiment, and it
And
would
you would
change the way you'd eat.
Pull barley roots into that and live off of your garden for the month.
Right. In the summer, it would be fairly easy. I would think in the winter, meals would start to get monotonous.
Yes.
Just because you
that
wouldn't
would
have
be
as
more
much variety.
challenging.
But speaking of like ketchup, we have been making ketchup at Barlow Roots,
Oh, really?
and it's wonderful.
Awesome.
I love it. It is so.
Are you
It's
hoping to
really
sell that this year at Barlow Roots?
Yes. Yep. We'll sell that at Barlow Roots, and adobo sauce.
Wonderful.
It was Cinco de Mayo a couple of days ago.
Yeah. Did
So
you do
adobo
anything
sauce.
for that?
We did. It was like 4:30, and I'm like, oh, Cinco de Mayo. Let's make Mexican.
Yeah.
So I made bean burritos, which I burned Tony and I out on bean burritos early on in our marriage.
Oh, very good.
But I'm like, I haven't made it in a while, so out came the bean burrito, and it's nice because it's no meat.
Yeah.
And we eat a
just
lot
throw
of
it
meat,
together.
but this is just nice when you don't have meat thawed or whatever.
To have meat. Right.
So it's just bean burritos and rice, and then I made. I've been making our own tortillas for quite a while now, and
Very cool.
yeah, we make flour.
Do you have to have a press?
I use a press for the corn tortillas.
Okay.
It was like $12, so not an expensive
Wonderful.
thing. And then masa, M-A-S-A, masa,
Mm-hmm.
is corn flour that
Okay.
like any grocery store sells now. And
Awesome.
it's that and water to make flour.
And that's easy.
Corn tortillas.
Corn tortillas.
Yeah, super easy. And so the corn ones are just, yay big.
The small ones.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then flour tortillas, I have learned a trick that you put in, it's like 2 cups of flour for flour tortillas, but take half of one of those cups, so half a cup,
Mm-hmm.
and put masa
Oh.
in.
It
And it makes
those
the
all in.
dough much more easy to roll out.
Good tip.
Yes, so we made bean burritos, and then, I don't even know if they're really burritos, because I don't know what makes a burrito, but it had beans in it, rice, and cheese.
Sounds like a burrito.
And then I took 2 of the flour tortillas, and I cut them up, and I fried them,
Okay.
and then put them in cinnamon and sugar, and we had
Awesome.
sopapillas.
Perfect.
So, it was a good Cinco de Mayo. I sadly was not able to give a lot of information to my children
Sure.
about what Cinco de Mayo is.
Did you explain to them why you were having Mexican food?
It's like, this is Cinco de Mayo because it's the 5th of May, and we're celebrating all the people that speak Spanish.
Yeah. That is enough for now. You can go
So,
into a unit study later.
Yes. So that was, did you guys do
Very
anything?
good. No, we didn't. Like you, it was 5 o'clock, and I realized,
Mhm.
oh wow, it is Cinco de Mayo,
Mhm.
and I think I made granola that day, so we had granola for dinner.
Nice.
But I wish that I could plan ahead better to celebrate with some of those fun things because I just love holidays and traditions and, getting out the traditional foods and stuff. So.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of this year I said this is going to be the year of traditions.
Oh, yeah.
So like trying to just be very, very much aware of not letting the little holidays slip by, like May Day.
Yep.
Or Cinco de Mayo. I mean, that's probably huge in other people's lives, but it's a small one for us. So.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. That was it. Anything else, kitchen?
Kitchen.
Naomi is somewhat gluten-free?
Yes,
Tell me
we
about.
try to live gluten-free. We are mostly dairy-free and mostly refined sugar-free.
Woo.
And I say mostly
Woo.
because we try, but we're not strict adherers to that all the time. But two of my children and my husband are lactose intolerant.
Okay.
So we figured it was just easier for all of us to eliminate the dairy out of the house because they all love the dairy. They love it. They love cheese and milk and ice cream and everything. So we have, since we've gone gluten-free and dairy-free, used a lot of paleo cookbooks because they offer gluten-free and dairy-free recipes. And the gluten-free, we don't have any allergies. We're not allergic to it, but just the research behind the health of it, we chose to do that for a while for our family. And so there's a lot out there for dairy-free options. We've made our own ice cream out of coconut milk, and we use almond milk.
That was really good.
On cereal. Yeah. And sometimes you can tell a difference, but a lot of the recipes I have really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options out there that maybe I will share some of those, some of our favorite recipes.
Yeah, that would be
blog.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm working towards at least the refined sugar, trying to eliminate that. And I made oatmeal this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and I skipped my brown sugar.
It was hard. It's a big step.
But
Did you use honey or?
I did maple syrup and cinnamon.
Oh, I thought that was
cinnamon
really
would add.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It
love
was
the
good.
flavor that maple syrup adds.
It was good. I did miss my brown sugar.
It's
But
a hard transition.
I didn't eat as much.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep. When we just switched our the way that we eat last fall, and the transition.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Because we used a lot of sugar. It's just in everything. So, making that switch is a very conscious effort. But
What's next, making wise for you? Kitchen. I mean, are there like recipes out there or making things? What's next for you?
oh gosh, I always have a long list of things that I want to try. I would love to make a quilt for our bed, and I don't think I want to do anything crazy. I actually really like the cover of this. That's just a solid color quilt, but the detailing is in the quilting.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yep.
It's just something simple, but
And I like that too because it doesn't take in your room you can do busy stuff other places other than like your bed.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
this is more of just a blank palette to match.
I like that a lot.
So that is on my list of things I would love to get done. What else? I want to make, like you said about traditions, I love the idea of the birthday bunting.
Yes.
That is a tutorial also on
Yeah, that's
the Handmade
on the
Girl
Handmade Girl.
blog.
Emily made that pattern, and it's an awesome pattern, and it's a happy birthday bunting.
Yeah. So just having that to pull out every year on the kids' birthdays, I think would just be so special. So that is on my to-do list that I want to make a happy birthday bunting.
I've made a ton of those. It's a good one.
Yeah.
In fact, like several times I've been like, I should sneak over to Naomi's when I know somebody in her family is having a birthday, and I should string it up on her doorstep.
Needs a little pep. Our house needs some pep for those birthdays. Yes.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And then I also am on mission. Ingrid made the most fantastic rhubarb crisp we have ever had. Just fantastic. And gave me the recipe, and it looks fairly simple to convert to gluten-free. So I'm going to attempt to make that gluten-free with just a gluten-free all-purpose flour. And so that is on my goal list too for this week.
Yep.
For rhubarb.
Yep. That's what this is like rhubarb crisp season because that is, I've made 3 now so far. I just have it every night. The flour won't be challenging, but there's a fair amount of sugar. So you'll have to adapt the sugar levels.
Yeah. Yep. We'll work with that.
For me, what's next? Well, this morning when I was in the shower, I got in the shower and the bottom of the tub was covered in dirt. Like, filthy, and
springtime.
Little boys had been playing, and just toys everywhere. And so I was cleaning, I was using this spray to, get the dirt.
Yep.
Just with my feet. I mean, let's not get hardcore here. Just get the dirt down the drain, which I'm sure is great for the drain. But I was standing in there, and I'm like, man, I really would like a new shower curtain.
Yeah.
And our bathroom is pretty much white and tan. There's not a whole lot of color in it, and that's my fault because I painted it and I thought I was doing a really pretty neutral, and then it was not. So I would like to do a shower curtain, and my thought is I'm going to leave the one that's up because it's just a plastic, almost sheer, very plain, not a lot to it. But if I leave that one up on the back side where it will get wet, and then make just with fabric scraps, I could make a front.
Yeah.
And then I have little eyelets, so I'll just measure the one that's in there and make just basically a quilt top.
Yeah.
The same size, and then hem it. I haven't thought this quite through because I don't want seams to be on the, I want it to be finished.
Sure.
But
you could just throw a backing piece on it just to finish the back.
Hem it, and then mini eyelets where I need my loops.
That would be a pretty quick project.
Yeah, and it would add a lot of color.
Yes. Perfect backdrop in there if everything is already neutral, then just bam with the shower curtain.
It's a small bathroom, so I would have to be careful that I didn't overwhelm it. But if I got it in there and it was awful, I would have a quilt top done. Basically.
There you go.
So
yeah,
just turn it into a quilt. So that's on my list. Let's see what else. Oh, I am desperate. So flour sacks, a lot of times like Grandma made them. Except now we make really fun patterns to go on it. So there's one of my favorite patterns. And here's another one. Whoop. Sorry, it is so challenging. It's like the opposite when you move is the way that the camera goes.
Yes.
But anyways, my flour sacks are getting so nasty.
Yes, time for some new flour sacks.
So between using cast iron, and I don't know, sometimes when I clean my cast iron, it leaves like black marks on my towels, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure why.
I've had that too.
So if anybody knows why, let me know. So anyways, I'm just desperate for new flour sacks.
So now, is there any way to salvage these beautiful patterns that you've already
Well, I've thought about that. And in the past, I've cut out just like the corner here, and I've put them into like pillowcases.
Oh, that's a good idea.
To make the stitching live on. There are different projects that you can salvage.
If it was in good enough condition, you could even just clip it out and put it in like a cute frame, rustic wood frame, and gift it, or hang it on the wall or whatever.
Yeah. So, anyways, I need to. But the flower sacks are super easy because it's a quick embroidery project, and you basically can do anything you want. You just draw yourself a picture.
Yeah, and embroider right over it. I made a cute series of the flower sack for a Christmas gift. It was an all Swedish series, so I did a Dala Hest and a Santa Lucia little girl with the candles on her head, and one other one. Can't
Cool.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And these are the best dish
Yes.
towels. I mean,
Yes,
they just
they are.
soak up. They're good.
Yeah.
So, those are kind of the next. I have an outdoor chair that needs to be painted. It's a rocker out on
Oh,
the
I
deck.
have one more.
What?
We just got chickens, baby chicks this week.
Yay!
And they're just so fun. They're so cute. But my husband and I have been working outside setting up their big chicken run, the pasture, fencing it in, and we got 2 coops from family members,
That's
which is
amazing.
a huge blessing. Both of them didn't need these coops anymore, so we've been working on getting them to our house, which has been a challenge in and of itself. But one has made it, one has arrived, and so yesterday I got the go-ahead from the husband to paint them however I want them.
Ooh.
So I'm super excited. I've been looking at kind of paint colors and trying to decide if I want to go just like traditional barn looking, like a
Yep.
red with white trim, or
Yeah.
I've been looking at different colors though, and there's some really fun options. So I've been kind of planning and scheming. So that's on my next list too. is
Yeah. Oh, you
Picking
can go
out
a
paint
lot of
colors.
different.
Yeah.
That is, you'll have to narrow that down.
Yes.
Yay!
So anyways, I'm excited about that.
So she's on chicks, and let me tell you, it's slippery slope. We've had chickens now for 2 years, and I absolutely love them.
Yes.
And now we have ducks. I never thought I'd have ducks, but now we have ducks.
And turkeys.
And turkeys. And pigs. And yeah.
You just gotta keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cow is next. I would really like a cow, because then I can make my own ice cream and my own cream.
Oh man.
And then I can make my own butter.
Wow. We will throw our dairy free out the door if you get a cow.
Well, you know, if it was raw, you might not have as
actually,
many allergy issues. Or
That's true. That's true. The raw milk
So-
has been known to not affect the lactose intolerance, so that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And my daughter Sophia votes that you also get a horse
Oh,
because she would like to come ride it, and I told her we can't get one.
I bet she would. Well, Elias would like that too. So. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that is all on my horizon.
Cool. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed a little handmade chit chat,
Yeah.
and we'll see when we're back next.
Yeah.
So
Have
until
a
then,
great week.
see you guys.
That wasn't so bad, right?